Guys, so by this tutorial, you'll have absolutely mastered the HTTP node with all the variations, all the methods, everything that HTTP node has to offer in your N8N workflow. So let's get straight into the topic. So what exactly is HTTP node? So HTTP node is a way to connect external APIs. Let's say if you have a workflow wherein you want to connect to some third-party API which is not supported by N8N, right? So let's say let's say I'll give you two examples. So let's say if I want to connect to Google, I already have got a lot of built-in nodes and everything is covered on N8N. But let's say if I want to connect to Yelp, now, to connect to Yelp, there is no such built-in node that N8N offers. So instead, what N8N tells you is basically, don't worry, you can probably do it with HTTP request node. Now, you click on it, it basically creates a HTTP node. That's what a HTTP node does. Now, don't get too confused with the nomenclature. I'll basically help you understand every single piece in a very simple way. So each HTTP node has got few methods. Few methods means you can do few operations using this HTTP node. So for getting a data out of a specific API, and by the way, API is just a way to connect to services. It's like a way to communicate between different services. Now to get a data, let's say if some data that is hosted onto some server, you want to get that data, that is where you'll use a get API. If you want to delete that data, you'll basically use the delete method. If you want to update the data, that is where you will use the put method. And if you want to create new data, let's say post some new data, you'll use basically post. Now, I get it that you might not have got everything out of it, but I'll basically drill down to all the things with just basic examples. And you can let go of head, options, and patch for time being, because I think most of the cases you'll only be using like, get, put, post, and delete. So it covers like 95% of use cases that you're trying to implement. Um, so let us just understand with these examples that I have on my N8N workflow. Okay. So these are all get methods. And basically what we can do is we can get single product. This is, by the way, a dummy API that we are going to use. So this is like, just to test our, N8N workflows, we basically are going to use this APIs. So this is get single product, who is the logged in user, get all the products and search for a product. So let's first go and first generate the API token. Now, how do you generate the API token? You just connect this dot. Okay. Now this is the HTTP node. So I'll explain what exactly has, what exactly is done on this node. So if we double click on this, you basically have the method as post. Okay. This is the URL that I got from this API endpoint, the documentation that I referred. Authentication is set to none. I already have covered the authentication, but for time being, let's skip on that. I'll maybe create a dedicated video about this. And then what you're trying to send is basically the body, which means you're trying to send something to the server to get something back. Okay, this is where we are using this post. Okay, now if you click on send body, you basically have got few options. You can either send body as form, you can either send body as a file, you can either send this as a raw JSON. But for now, we are just sending a JSON. Okay, JSON is just a format to send data. Okay, and what we're going to do is basically send using the fields that are in the API documentation. So there is this one field that it was there, which was username. So I'm sending username with this value, and the password is this value. Okay, and expires in is another parameter that I'm passing, which is 30 minutes. So you can again, whatever you're passing should be in the body parameters. Okay, that is simple. Now when you execute this, what you get is, let's just let's just execute this. So if you delete this up and add a manual trigger, okay, this one. So we'll basically just execute this node. Let's see what we get out of this. We execute this. Okay, so we got something back. The node has turned green with something is, we have got out of it. That means we basically logged into this account using our username and password, and what we got is access token and the refresh token. Now again, you don't need to know everything about what exactly is access token, what exactly is refresh token. When let's say some APIs that are restricted for users to use, you basically have a mechanism to secure those APIs using a token. Now that is called access token. So once you give the access token, you'll basically be able to get the data out of the API. So now this access token you got, you can basically save this, okay, because it is going to get expired in 30 minutes. This is just for a sample tutorial. So that was the post request. Now let's say if you want to get data from the server, okay, so this is where we'll use a GET API. Okay, now for the GET API, how do you create is just again the HTTP node over here, same thing. Okay, if you just double click on this, you basically get this HTTP node. Okay, now when you double click, what we have done over here is this time the method is get. Okay, and we are basically going to get a single product. Okay, what do I mean by single product? Let's say if there are multiple products, so I'll first demonstrate this part, which is get all products. Okay, so if you just do this, just connect this to this get all products node. By the way, all of this documentation is going to get, you will be able to access everything, complete documentation to my community. GoBuildWithAI.com. I'll link it in the description, wherein you can also learn more about N8N and how to build agents with N8N. So it's completely free to join. So I'll see you there as well. So when you are trying to get all the products, this is what we are going to pass. Again, method is get. This is the endpoint that the documentation says. Authentication is set to none. And then if you just run this workflow, okay, you'll basically get all the products. See, so it is in the products dictionary, okay, and then you have this individual products, which is got title, description, category, all of that. So this is where you'll basically use get method to just get the data. Okay, now let's say if you want to get a single product, this method, so basically this example got us all the product. But let's say if you want to get a single product, most of the APIs do support this. When you try to get a single entity, okay, this is where a single product call is helpful. So what we are trying to do is, this is the URL, and then which product ID, whatever you're passing, is the product that you're getting. So let's say if I pass 2 over here, it would be the second product. It would be the product with ID 2. It would be product with ID 3, whatever I'm passing over here. Okay. This is one more variation of get API. So I'll just quickly disconnect this node. I'll keep it over here and I'll run this node. Okay. So if you check, the node that we had is Essence Mascara Lash Princess for 1. So I'll just go and connect this. I'll run this workflow. And the first node that we get, because this is the first node, is the same, Essence Mascara Lash Princess. And this time we only got one object. See, we only got one entity. Okay, this was get a single product. Now let's say if you basically plan to search for the product. Okay, let's say if you have multiple products and you want to search for a specific product. Now how do you use HTTP node with that? So search for the node, search for the product. Again, you double click on this. You basically have method as get, because we're getting something, right? This is the URL of the API, which is product search. Again, you'll get it from the documentation, whichever API that you are trying to work with. And this time we'll basically send a query parameter. Now, what does query parameter mean is we're basically trying to do a search for a product. So if this will turn out to be the URL like this. So if you go to this question mark, okay, Q equals to phone. Okay, whatever we are trying to search, which we have added over here. So you're trying to search, let's say search value is going to be the phone. Now, if you just click on this, you basically get a lot of data. Okay, this is what we'll also get once we search for a phone. Okay, now when you search for a phone, you basically got all the phones over here. Okay, all of them are related to phones in some or the other way. So if you just go and I'll just bring this node up over here and try to connect with this. Okay, this time you search. This time we're basically given a search query based on the phone, and you get all the phones over here. Okay, I think this is wrong. I think that's, I'll just skip this, and this is the right node. Okay, and you do a quick workflow run. This is where you'll basically get everything related to phones. So you see Apple AirPods Max Silver, then you have Apple iPhone charger, then you have Apple MagSafe battery, and all of the stuff that is related to phone. So this is all about get APIs. Now let's say if okay, there is one more API that I want to discuss, which is you know authenticated API. So remember, we generated a token from this. Okay, so this token basically lets you also query the APIs which are restricted ones. In this case, if I want to basically get a logged in user, so if I just go and check this documentation, so this time the method is get. This is the URL that will get me a authenticated user. And this time I'm basically going to pass a header. Now, how do you pass a header is using this. So just click on HTTP node. Okay. And you basically have an option over here which says send headers. And this time you'll basically pass the header for an API. This documentation is already going to get covered into whatever API that you're going to work with. So for this API, you basically need to pass the header as authorization. Okay, authorization and bearer and the token that you got from the post method. Okay, so what we do here is basically, let's just quickly do a quick run for this. Okay, so you basically connected this, and then when you run this workflow, you'll basically get authenticated user, which is Emily, and the one that we created. Okay, using this authentication token. Okay, this expires in 30 minutes because we set it the expiry. That was on the get. I hope everything is clear on the get. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out always. Now let's talk about post. Okay, post is a way to create a something, right? So in this case, whenever you are planning to create something as a resource or something that you're trying to add to the API, you'll basically use a post method. This time we'll basically choose method as post. Okay, this is the URL that we'll post to, and this time we'll basically send the body. You will have to keep this option enabled. You can get these options over here, which is send body. Okay, and whatever body fields that you want to pass over here, you'll get it. Okay, so if you just remove this, what we are passing over here to create the product is title and a value. Okay, so you can use specific values, or maybe you can pass JSON as well. Okay, now let's run this as well. If we run this node, we basically have created one product. If you see, this product has got created, so that's what we got return as the output as well. Okay, this is how post works. And then let's just check on the put. Put is when you want to update something. Let's say if you want to update a specific product, this time we're going to use patch. You can also use put or patch, both works. It based on documentation, so this time they're using patch. And then what you need to do is just send the body, just change the method from post to patch, and everything should work. And whatever you're sending, you send it as a title, so this get replaced with a specific ID. So whenever you're trying to just send the request to this particular, so what essentially will happen is, for this product one, we are going to basically update the title as this simple. That's why we are sending it as patch. Okay, so whenever we just implement this, just quickly they run this. So what really happened is, for the product one, we basically updated the title as this one. Okay, simple. Now the API changes won't persist because it's a demo testing API. You might need to play around with real API, but for testing purposes, it's fine. That was on the put. And then the last example that I have is for the delete. Delete is very obvious. If you have something to delete from an API, from a specific resource, then you can use delete. So you got the ID, and you got all of that. So if you just node and execute this workflow, you basically have a delete operation in place. This time the method is delete, the same URL with just the ID at the end, and then this is how it will work out. So hope this video was clear. If you have any questions, feel free to reach and let me know in the comments how did you find the video, and please like and subscribe. And I highly recommend to join this community, and I also do a lot of consultations around AI. So if you need any help with your workflows or anything in your business, let me know. And thanks for watching the video. See you in the next video.